I thought we had forever. Turns out, we only had now. And this now is slipping away. We often build our lives around the promise of forever, investing our hopes and dreams into a future that feels certain. But what happens when that certainty crumbles, when the forever we envisioned reveals itself to be merely a now that is fleeting? This painful realization, though jarring, holds a profound truth that everything is impermanent, and clinging to what is constantly changing only leads to suffering. The ancient wisdom traditions, particularly Buddhist philosophy, invite us to look beyond the illusion of permanence and embrace the present moment, understanding that true peace lies in accepting the ebb and flow of life, including the dissolution of what we once held dear. Perhaps you've also felt the quiet erosion of a connection you believed would last. But if you've listened this far, please don't scroll away. Because the most crucial part isn't in the painful ending, but in the profound understanding that Chloe gained about the nature of love and attachment. And you will want to stay to see how someone who lost her vision of forever can find a deeper, more liberating way to love, not by holding on, but by learning the art of letting go. The tale of Liam and Chloe. Liam and Chloe were the quintessential high school sweethearts, the couple everyone pointed to as proof that true love existed. Their story began in the dusty halls of their suburban high school, blossomed through college, and continued to deepen as they navigated the complexities of early adulthood. They were inseparable, their lives meticulously intertwined. Every decision, every dream, every future plan was made with the other in mind. They talked about their dream house, the number of children they'd have, even the names of their future pets. Their love was a beacon, a testament to enduring commitment, and everyone around them believed they were destined for a lifetime together. The engagement ring on Chloe's finger was not just a symbol. It was a concrete promise of the forever they had meticulously planned. As the wedding preparations began, a subtle shift started to occur. The excitement was there, but beneath it, a quiet tension began to brew. The pressures of merging two lives, balancing family expectations, and navigating their demanding careers started to chip away at the effortless connection they once shared. Chloe noticed Liam becoming more distant, spending more time at work or with friends. Their conversations, once filled with shared laughter and intimate details, became shorter, more superficial. The spontaneous moments of affection dwindled, replaced by a growing sense of formality. Chloe tried to address it, gently at first, then with more urgency. She'd ask, "Is everything okay? Or are you happy?" Liam, however, would always brush her concerns aside, assuring her that she was overthinking, that it was just the stress of the wedding or the demands of his new project. He'd offer a quick kiss, a reassuring squeeze of her hand, but the underlying disconnect remained, a silent chasm widening between them. The weeks leading up to the wedding were a blur of venue visits, cake tastings, and seating arrangements, but for Chloe, they were also filled with a growing sense of unease. The man she was about to marry felt like a stranger, or perhaps a familiar stranger. The future they had so carefully constructed felt hollow, built on a foundation that was slowly eroding. One evening, exhausted and emotionally drained, Chloe found herself sifting through old photographs. She stumbled upon a picture of them from their very first date, their faces beaming with youthful innocence and unadulterated joy. A sharp, agonizing pang shot through her heart. The contrast between the vibrant, hopeful couple in the photo and the strained reality of their present was unbearable. When Liam finally came home, she met him at the door, the old photograph clutched in her hand. Her voice, though soft, carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. She held out the picture, her eyes brimming with tears, and whispered, "I thought we had forever. Turns out, we only had now. And this now is slipping away." The commentary, a Buddhist or life wisdom view. Chloe's heartbreaking realization, "I thought we had forever. Turns out, we only had now. And this now is slipping away," encapsulates a fundamental truth taught in ancient wisdom traditions, particularly in Buddhism, the principle of impermanence, anicca. Everything in existence, from the grandest galaxies to the most intimate human connections, is in a constant state of flux. Nothing is static. Everything arises, changes, and ceases. Our relationships, our feelings, our very selves are not fixed entities but dynamic processes. To cling to the idea of a permanent forever in a world defined by change is to set ourselves up for inevitable suffering. Chloe's pain stemmed not just from the changing nature of her relationship with Liam, but from her resistance to this inherent impermanence, her attachment to a future that was never guaranteed. This leads us directly to the first noble truth. Life is suffering, dukkha. This suffering arises not from external events themselves, but from our craving and clinging to things that are, by their very nature, impermanent. Chloe's story illustrates how the suffering intensifies when we refuse to acknowledge the changing conditions of a relationship. The subtle shifts, the growing distance, Liam's evasiveness. These were all manifestations of impermanence at play. Her clinging to the idealized image of their forever prevented her from seeing and addressing the reality of their now. The moment of realization, though painful, was also a moment of clarity, a glimpse into the truth that peace comes not from controlling the flow of life, but from learning to navigate its currents with acceptance. This perspective invites us to reflect. How often do we project our desires for permanence onto relationships, careers, or even our own identities? What happens when the forever we envision begins to unravel? Can we learn to embrace the beauty and fragility of the now, finding peace not in what lasts, but in what is present? The Noble Eightfold Path. Chloe's journey of transformation, after the painful realization and the decision to call off the wedding, became a profound exploration of the Noble Eightfold Path, particularly in cultivating right understanding, samadhi, and right livelihood, samarajiva. Right understanding, in this context, was not merely an intellectual acceptance of impermanence, but a deep, experiential knowing that the forever she had clung to was an illusion. It was the understanding that true love, while powerful, cannot defy the natural laws of change, and that clinging to a relationship that no longer served its purpose was a source of suffering for both her and Liam. This understanding allowed her to see their separation not as a failure, but as a necessary step towards authentic well-being for both. Her practice of right livelihood, though seemingly unrelated to a relationship, took on a new meaning. It wasn't just about her career, but about living in a way that was honest, ethical, and brought no harm to herself or others. For Chloe, this meant being honest with herself about the state of her relationship, even when it was painful. It meant choosing a path that honored her inner truth, rather than maintaining an illusion for the sake of external appearances or past promises. She began to engage in activities that truly nourished her spirit, spending time in nature, reconnecting with old friends, and pursuing hobbies she had long neglected. This conscious choice to live authentically, to align her actions with her newfound understanding of impermanence, became her quiet act of liberation, paving the way for a deeper sense of peace and self-acceptance. The healing for Chloe wasn't a sudden burst of joy, but a gradual unfolding. like the slow bloom of a desert flower after a long drought. There were still moments of sadness, of longing for the future that never was. But these moments were no longer consuming. She learned that healing isn't about erasing the past, but about integrating it, understanding its lessons, and moving forward with a heart that is both tender and resilient. The pain of letting go transformed into a quiet strength, a profound appreciation for the present moment. One quiet morning, months after the wedding was called off, Chloe sat by her window, sipping tea. She looked at her reflection in the glass, and for the first time in a long time, she saw not a broken woman, but a whole one. She thought of Liam, not with bitterness or regret, but with a gentle sense of peace. She understood that their journey together, though it didn't last forever, had served its purpose. It had taught her about love, about attachment, and most importantly, about the profound beauty of impermanence. The now she had once feared was slipping away had become her sanctuary, a space where she could truly be present, truly free. The story didn't end with a fairy tale, but with a deeper, more authentic understanding of love and the quiet courage to embrace life, one precious moment at a time. And what about you? What forever have you clung to, only to realize it was merely a now that eventually faded? Perhaps it's a relationship, a career, a dream, or even a version of yourself you've outgrown. What truths about impermanence has life whispered to you, even if you weren't ready to hear them? How has the act of letting go, however painful, ultimately opened a new path for you? Take a moment, close your eyes, and bring to mind one thing you are holding on to, one expectation of forever that might be preventing you from fully embracing your now. It could be a past hurt, a future worry, or an idealized version of how things should be. Now, gently, imagine loosening your grip, just a little, not abandoning it, but allowing for the possibility that its path might unfold differently than you envision. Write down what comes to mind when you consider this gentle release. Writing it down is already a beginning. If you wish to continue on this journey, where each video is a mirror to the inner self, please click subscribe to walk together. No rush, only when you truly feel it.